Hey guys, it's your course director, Emily here. Just wanted to give you some positive, productive feedback on these text-based resumes that you guys recently submitted. So I'm going to go through them one by one and point out some opportunities, for evolving or iterating on what you have moving forward. A couple of things to start out. I want you guys to be thinking about, is there a clear connection between the skills and experiences that I've listed here on this resume and what I ultimately want to do in media communication. So for example, if you want to be a graphic designer and all you've done is worked at Domino's Pizza, then there's a gap. There's a gap between what you want to do and the skills and experience that you can show for it. So if you want to get into a certain facet of the industry, you need to make sure that you can back that up with skills and experience. So if you want to be a social media strategist, your resume needs to reflect work in that area, so on and so forth. So how do you do that? Well, you guys are about halfway through the MCBS program, which is a good thing. So you know more about yourself. You probably know a little bit more about what you want to get into post-graduation, and you still have time while you're in school to build those skills and that experience. And how do you do that? Well, aside from someone paying you to do it, hiring you in that position, you can execute projects on your own behalf, conceptualize them, whether it's in a freelance capacity, whether it's pro bono for some friend who needs something done, whether it's just for yourself and your own practice of a particular skill set. But you're going to need to have quote unquote proof that you can do what you say that you can do, or that you are what you say you are. And so between now and when you graduate, you're going to have several more portfolio classes, and this is the time. These SMART goals, it's not just about you exploring things in sort of a meaningless sort of way. It's about you being thoughtful with the time that you have to create the types of things or learn the things that are going to show that you are a skilled media communicator. And so moving forward and knowing that you will continually add to this is not the first, nor will it be the last time you'll work on this resume, that you're going to have to keep adding to it. And when you add to it, not just to talk about what, if you have a job, what your job responsibilities are, but what is your accomplishment in that role. Everybody can do task A, B, C, and D, but how did you do it? And what was the sort of signature impact that you brought in that role? When you guys are doing your resumes, you might be using design software. My recommendation is InDesign. And there are spell check tools in any of these, Adobe Creative Suite applications. Not many of you guys are using that. And aside from sort of the inherent tools in the applications, please have a human eye, a trusted editor look at your work, both for context and clarity, but also like spell check's not going to get misused words. So a lot of students talk about working in customer service roles, except they spell it costumer service, and that's not something that spell check is going to pick up, so don't be that person. And then last but not least, I want to make sure that you guys know that Wendy Walzer is our career development liaison for MCBS. She's awesome, and you can start working with her now. She will reach out to you 3 months before graduation, to get with the specifics for what career development can offer you. But it is highly encouraged that you reach out to her via email before that, establish a relationship with her, and start to get an idea of the resources available to you guys. Full Sail's one of the only schools I know that offers this sort of career development support ongoing, even after you graduate. So know what the resources are and take advantage of them. We are going to start here with Lorgie. So scrolling down, you're going to be a new grad and seeking an opportunity for professional challenges. This is like super vague, and I want you guys to be more specific, not only for your resume but for yourself. If you don't know what you want to do, how do you make good choices about that? And so it's okay. I say that, and then I say that it's okay to be somewhat vague still right now, because you're kind of taste testing and figuring it out, but set that as a priority for yourself to get a better idea of how you want to focus your career and your job search moving forward. So here, just kind of taking a look, you have, you speak multiple language, you like working in Illustrator, just showing sort of what you have done in the past. You've got some professional experience here, your education, and then volunteer. This is very bare bones, meaning that it is, you've got sort of the bullet points, but there's not enough explanation to really fully understand or get a picture of what it is that you can do. You guys have to find the words to talk about what you do or what you can do. That is the challenge here. So when you're talking about made city tours for new students, like I'm sure that you can probably write 3 or 4 more sentences about that. The goal would be to come up with one summary statement that best encapsulates what you could say in 5 sentences. But like, what type of events? Like, what does the distribution of schedules? Did you manage people? Did you manage logistics? These are all things that, would more fully paint the picture of what you did in this role, but then also like what you can do for other people. So from reading this, it's not, it's not entirely clear as to your direction, but again, this assignment was to get you started on this writing process. So I encourage you to go back through this with a bit more focus and to say, like, if what I want to do is to, you talk about doing Illustrator here, right? So that's kind of the only media, that's kind of the only media related. Oh, you have social media down here. So like, those are the only 2 clues that I potentially know about you and your professional aims. I need a clearer picture than that. So here we have Trevor's. He wants to develop skills in all areas of media, creating and designing ads. So we've talked, Trevor, about you want your focus to be in advertising. This language is pretty broad in that, you want to strive to develop skills in all areas. And then you say advertisement. So that, it's kind of contradictory, right? Because you're very focused here. And then very unfocused and broad here. So looking at, your skills, it's great to see you've included some of, the Adobe suite, the specific software. Again, I want you guys to, cite that application by application, because that's keyword rich content, right? So instead of saying Adobe Creative Suite, you list the specific applications, and you might go even farther to say that I am proficient, or I am an expert, or I am a beginner. Looking at the experience here, like you've got a list, but the list that doesn't actually tell me anything that you did. So what did you do for Hall of Fame? What is a summary statement that fully encapsulates the value that you brought to that team, or what you were able to produce? That is all stuff that, is needed here, because first of all, nobody outside of Full Sail knows what Hall of Fame is. And so there's no context to even have any idea about what you did for that. So more is needed. We've got your education and training, which is good, and then that you've received some scholarships. It's good that you guys are listing achievements or things that you have while you're a student, but I want to highlight that those things will become increasingly less important as you leave school and move into a world of professionalism, right? So more important at the end of your degree program is not that you earned a scholarship, it's that you can show that after you earned that scholarship, you applied yourself in school, and here's a demonstration of what you learned and all of the skills that you attained. So I want you guys to be forward thinking about that as you continue to craft the content for these resumes. So here we've got Chris's, and you are very specific, right? So broadcasting and particularly sports. You've got communication, you've got brief knowledge. I don't know that I would say brief. You could say beginner knowledge in those areas. You've got some work experience here. I don't see that this says like your title or, what it seems like maybe you were clerical in some way. And I bet that you did a whole lot more than those 2 bullet points right there. The challenge is for you guys to learn how to talk about what you did. If it was an administrative role, if it was a logistics role, if it was somebody who managed the office or managed patient or client relations, those are types of things that are important to note. Also, I see that you have your Eagle Scout award and distinction listed down there, which is excellent. I would encourage you to include something about your Eagle Scout project, or kind of like what was your culminating experience with that, because that shows how loyal and dedicated you were to the Scouts over time. And that's a great honor. So I think that you might want to include more information about that. Again, and any of you who are working with a sort of a visual or audio visual output for the work that you want to do. So in your case, Chris, some of your broadcasting, the inclusion of a portfolio site, a link to that on your resume to back up what you're saying about your skills and experience. That is the demonstration that you know how to use Audition. It is the demonstration of your play-by-play commentary. So all of you should be including a portfolio website on these resumes. So next up, we're taking a look at Jen's. Jen has, she wants to leverage different skills while doing meaningful work. Again, super broad. That's okay, but more your time and attention needs to be spent figuring out what that looks like, because the extent that you can communicate that to someone else, the better able you're going to provide. You'll be able to find those positions of meaningful work. If you can't define what meaningful work is for you, how are you going to know what it is, when you see it, right? So scrolling down, taking a look at your professional experience, we see that you've held a lot of jobs, and again, some of them might not on the outset seem media communications at all related. So here we have something where you did research, and here is where you're working as a manager and a cashier. And so I encourage you to think about, what did I do in these roles that can be teased out in such a way, that I showed leadership, or I showed managerial experience, that I showed good communication, that I showed good customer service or support, because those are the soft skills that are needed at any job. So even if working as a waitress doesn't seem like maybe it is experience that would fit with what you want to do, it is experience that allows you to deal with people and to develop those types of important characteristics. Scrolling down, we see your education and training, and that's about it. So noticeably absent, Jen, is any of any projects or work that you've done outside of school or for clients that you're using your media communication skills for. So this feels very just like textbook or generic, and I, based upon our work together over several months, know that you're doing more than this, and so I encourage you to dig a little bit deeper and to find the support in terms of what you've created for other people, or how you've collaborated with other people, to start to begin to paint this picture of who you're going to be as a media professional. Here we're taking a look at Carlos's. So you're going to need your name up here at the top. These documents, you guys are the subject of the document of your resume. Your name needs to be big and at the top and as the focal point, because when I'm looking at tons and tons of resumes, I need to be able to clearly see right away whose I'm looking at. So, Carlos talks about increasing skills in media, to create content, right? Again, pretty broad. If you can get a little bit more specific with that, I know that you are these things down here, right? So video editing, audio editing, you've got production, post-production related skills. And so that's really cool. If you could include, some of this context in this statement up here, it would make a bit more sense. Scrolling down, I do see, that you have had different kinds of jobs and roles that have allowed you to gain experience in the areas that you identified higher up. The formatting of this is such that you would need to put like the name of the position, where you did it, the date range, bulleted list of the, roles and responsibilities, right? So each one of these needs to be broken down a bit further. We've got your education and training, your software skills, love the specificity of that, and then some volunteer work. Like what kind of volunteer work did you do with ROTC, right? So get specific about this, because again, you're kind of you're highlighting not just in this case media skills, but human skills that might make the difference between me choosing someone who has the exact same technical skills, but you are a stronger candidate or someone that I would want to work with on a team. Next up, we've got Drew. So you want to use your experience in technology, gaming, and communication to push the company forward. What company, right? So, words matter. The way you articulate this stuff matters. What kind of experience do you have in technology and gaming? How do you see all of that working together? People aren't going to put these dots together for you guys. So the ability to talk about what you want to do, the ability to talk about your professional aims, your objectives is going to be crucial for you to get the types of jobs that you want. So kind of a couple of, reviews ago, we're talking about, how the ability to articulate what meaningful work is for you will allow you to recognize those opportunities when it comes forward. So in this case, your ability to define how you want to use technology, gaming, and communication will help you recognize that opportunity when it comes forward. So here we have tech skills, computer setup, PC and Mac, education. These might be listed in the order that I requested them, but I encourage you guys to realize that your experience is going to be the most important thing on your resume. Your ability to back up what you say about your education or that you went to school is more important than saying that you went to Full Sail. Your portfolio site that can show what you have done will be more important than saying that I have a degree. So be thinking about that moving forward. You've got some experience as a mentor. This needs to be more fully described. You taught classes. There's a lot here. Like you've done things that really speak to your strengths and to where you've been, but you give me like this tiny little taste of it. And that won't do. You guys need to find the words to talk about what you've done to paint this picture of what you can do for other people. Looking at your community involvement. So, the further away that you get from this, because it's 2018, you're likely going to graduate maybe in 2019. So then this would be almost 5 years old. So what can you say most recently, right? So you've got the Monarch Initiative here, but like if we're talking about media or technology, instead of just saying creating seed packets and making butterfly boxes, maybe you could say something like contributing to the success of a launch campaign for, and then tell me what the Monarch Initiative is. Because like as a stranger to you and to your resume, I don't know what that is. Just like I don't know what Hall of Fame is. Those are all like Full Sail specific terms or events that like you are going to need to paint the picture for other people. Last but not least, let's take a look at Brian. So looking for a job that showcases his skills and love for media. I'll say it over and over again if I have to, but you guys are being a little too broad with this. And then I will also say again that that's okay because you're still figuring it out. But I want you to have that as a goal moving forward to become a bit more intentional about what it is that you're looking for. We see your summary of qualifications, where your skills lie, which is great. You've had a few jobs, in the past, working at Brewster's, you were a manager. So these are sort of very curt or short statements about these things. But like what's important here is that you were a manager, and these are the types of tasks that back that up, that show that that you can run the show, run the store, potentially run a project. You're going to need that organization. So I would encourage you to maybe think about using words like, you know, facilitated, organized, managed, in talking about what you did at Brewster's. We've got some of your education. Anytime you have collegiate experience, which you all do because you're at Full Sail, your high school information is not relevant and doesn't need to be included on your resume, with the exception that, like, if you went to a media communications or arts school, that might be something relevant to include. We've got some volunteer and freelance experience here, just showing that you've done video and photography. So in this case, I would say prove it, like show me your portfolio, show me what you've been working on. How can I fully understand, Brian, what you might be able to do for me and my company if I can't get an idea of it from what you've shared here? So guys, this might be a first step for you. It might be a second step depending upon if you've made resumes before, but like it's time to get really intentional about what it is that you want and how you want to talk about it, and how you want to seek out opportunities that you're looking for. So if you guys have any questions about what I've shared here, give me a shout.